If you are researching your early American ancestors, there are a couple of places that you may not know about that could give you some records that could change your world. The first is DAR and the other is SAR. Now, what does that stand for? DAR is the Daughters of the American Revolution, or the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and SAR obviously would be the Sons, the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. Today, I'm going to very quickly tell you about SAR, the Sons of the American Revolution. I was in their library last spring. I want to show you what you can get that you need to go to the library to get, but what you can also get remotely. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly to just give you a really quick overview. Because why do you care? Let me tell you why you care. When people want to become part of this organization, the Sons or the Daughters of the American Revolution, they need to apply and they need to prove lineage. It's called a lineage society. So they need to prove they're related. Well, in order to prove that they're related, a lot of times they submitted information that may not be publicly available anymore. Or maybe you just don't know where to find it. And so taking a look at the information that's been provided and even some of those old applications can actually be really beneficial to you. I'm Aimee Cross. I'm here to help you take your genealogy to the next level. Let's start with if you have the opportunity to go visit the library in person. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's actually across the street from the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory. They have a fantastic library there with wonderful people who will give you a smile like this when you walk in the door. They have a library that you can access. And here are some pictures of that library. I'm going to go into some more detail about that in a moment. Let me tell you a little bit more about the organization before we dive in more to this library and their website. It actually began as the Sons of the American Sires in 1876. It was a fraternal and civil society. And then in 1889, it became the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. So you can imagine if they began like in 1889 officially, and you had people applying to this lineage society, 1889, that's only 100 degrees difference from the people that served in the Revolutionary War. So these were probably their great-grandfathers, maybe closer, maybe a little bit further, but they had more proximity to the people that we're talking about. So they had maybe personal knowledge of information that you don't have. So these old applications, quite frankly, are my favorite. Now, let me tell you how you can find out more about these applications. Let me start with that. The first place I actually go, oftentimes I may see that I have a relative that was in the Revolutionary War, is Ancestry's database of the U.S. Sons of the American Revolution membership applications. They go from 1889 when they formed to 1970. So you can search there for those records. I'm going to put a link to this website in the video description, but if you just do a Google search for Sons of the American Revolution membership applications and then put the word Ancestry, you should find it fairly quickly. Now, if you're on their website, this is their website, it's sar.org. There's a lot here. I'm just going to take you to these things that I think are really, really beneficial for you. And I'm going to be honest. This is not my favorite website. I think it's kind of difficult to get the records that you need, and this is part of the reason why I'm doing this video, okay? All right, so what you want to do is go up here to Genealogy, and you can do genealogical research services. That's where you pay them to pull some records for you. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. They have genealogy resources. Quite frankly, that's not super valuable to me. The big one is the Patriot Research System. All right, so if you click on Patriot Research System, I'll get this out. It gives you this page where they say they need volunteers and all this other stuff. You actually have to click on this button here, and it's going to take you to a completely different website. I'm going to put a link to this one in the video description as well, but this is still not where you want to be. You want to go up here to Patriot Search, okay? Now the link to this page is going to be in the show notes in the video description below. On this Patriot Research page, not only can you search for the Patriot, you can also search for a member, a descendant. You can look at biographies. Now, this is the biographies that they have of particular Revolutionary War soldiers. They also have a cemetery search where they have a database that has specific information about people that served in the Revolutionary War. Now, I need to warn you that their Patriot database does not have everything in it. There could be somebody that served in the Revolutionary War that they don't have in their database. So just because it's not there doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Now, sometimes with a lot of these databases, less is more. You can just put in a last name. You can say that it sounds like, it begins with, it contains, or the exact last name. You can add in a given name, but if you're not sure and you're just looking for all of the Gibbs that lived in a particular area that may have served in the Revolutionary War, you can do that. You can add in a birth year if you know it, or a death year if you know it, but you don't have to do it. So if I just type in the word Gibbs and search, this gives me 5 pages of results for Gibbs. So I really probably want to narrow this down, right? But maybe it's an unusual name, and maybe that's what I want to start with. But I'm just going to go ahead and use this as an example. So you have these indicators over here, and these are really important. And there's an index right here that tells you what they mean. But the A means there's more than one known application for that Patriot. The B means that there's a biography that's been contributed for that Patriot. Remember the biography search we had a minute ago? The C notes that he's linked to the cemetery record. Do you remember we talked about that as well a minute ago? And the H note denotes, right up here there's one, that there's a headstone photo. Now, this other little symbol, the symbol of the DAR, denotes that the Patriots linked to an associated DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution record, and they may have additional sources there, so you're for sure going to want to go over to their website and check that out. That's another video. And if you see the triangle with the exclamation point, it means that there's some kind of genealogy problem, and to see the full record for details. All right, so let's say I found one, and this is my person, and this Benjamin Gibbs, he has a DAR record. His wife is Thankful Langdon, and I know that's my Benjamin. I actually don't know that that's my Benjamin. I'm just using it as an example. But all right, so this page gives me more information. So I know that he was born in Windsor, Connecticut in 1747, and he died in 1783 in Connecticut. I have his service description. I have the DAR number, okay? And then I have his spouse and his known children. And then if I click up here, I can go to grave detail, if there's any grave detail, biography, Patriot biography, or any additional information. And this says that he is the son of Benjamin Gibbs, who is a different Patriot. Okay, now for kicks, I've put his information into this Ancestry database. I put his name, I put his birth year, and the where that he was born according to the SAR application. And here I have this, here we go. He's married to Thankful. Now on Ancestry, if I click on this image, I can actually see the application that was made, and I can see multiple pages of the application. And here you want to be sure that you look at the multiple pages. So this is the first page, and then I can move page by page, and I can see a lot of information about his service. This person was the great-grandson. So, and then right over here, I have the authority. I have the information about the family records that were kept by the parents, genealogical registers, things like that. So there's going to be more here in his file that may be helpful for me. Now, I'd like to note a couple of other bits of information that are on this page. Right up here, it says that the following information has been assembled from numerous sources and can not be used directly to prove proof of lineage. And there's no place to order this. And it says here that there is no documentation available to order from NSSAR, which is the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. So let me go to a different guy, and I'll show you something else that you can do. Now here we have, this is a multiple application. This is Benjamin. All right, now I see, again, we have this warning here, but I can purchase the SAR application that was used to obtain membership in the organization. And this application was approved in 1961. So I can view the associated detail by clicking on this here, and I get to see this information and all the other people that were associated with the application. And I can click to purchase this, and it will let me purchase the application. Right here, you can see the cost is $10. Now, what you're gonna get is what I could get on Ancestry when I put his information here. But this is where this site is confusing to me. It's not the documents, and I want the documents, okay? So how do I get them on the SAR website? I have to make an order for actual genealogical research. So I have to go to the genealogy site here again. I need to do the genealogical research services tab. And then I have a research request form. So if I click on get this, I get the form, I can fill it out, and then I can send it in. Then they're going to pull any of the documentation that came with the application. Even if you go in person, you're still going to have to pay for the records for the application. And that's something that I wanted to make clear to you. So now I want to go back to the library, and I want to tell you a little bit more about that library, because not only can you get this information, you can also have access to a wealth of other information that they have there in the library. And I want to note that that whole row of books that are along the bottom, those are all biographies, and it goes all the way around the room. If you're researching a particular name, you may find a ton of information on your surname in the library. Now, the upper level, all the way across the room, are states and territories information. So those are books that are more general, that talk about a particular state or territory. Those are more location-based records, which could be, again, very valuable for you. And then in the very back of that library, up at the top of the stairs, is their special collections. Now, there is some good news if you can't go there. You can look at their catalog remotely, and some of the books are available digitally if they're out of copyright. And about a third of their collection is now out of copyright. So how do you go to there? Let me show you. All right, go up here to the library, and then you can go up here to the library info and the library catalog. And you can click here to search the library, and that is free for anybody to go to search this catalog. So if I put in the terms Gibbs, I'm going to see a number of items that I could maybe take a look at. Nicholas Gibbs and his descendants. This is something that you can't check out, but you can view in the library. Now, this time instead of a surname, I put in a place. And one of my results was this history and genealogies of the families of Miller. In the notes right here, the reason this came up was because this family probably settled in Goochland, Orange, or Albemarle County. This is not in copyright anymore, so they have made a link right here to view this document on the Internet Archive. So then I can go straight there and view the document. Pretty cool. You know, when we're researching early American ancestors, it's just not easy. I think sometimes we think we're just going to be able to go onto a website like Ancestry and find what we're looking for, build a huge tree. And the reality is maybe you are looking at a tree on Ancestry, but there's a lot of bad trees out there. And if you want to do good genealogy research, you need to make sure that you can prove the information that you're accepting into your family tree. And when you're researching in this difficult time period, you've got to look for these less common sources. So I hope this resource of the SAR library and its online database is something that you will be able to utilize to help you extend your family tree. Now, this video is another video that I did about researching that could really be beneficial for you if you have not already seen it. It's a very, very in-depth, detailed video on my initial strategies whenever I'm researching somebody during this time period. And subscribe. You'll get to see more of my videos whenever I put one up there. Thanks so much. Have a great day.